This episode is presented to you by NFL Sunday Ticket, now on YouTube and YouTube TV. With NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube and YouTube TV, you can watch your favorite team's out-of-market Sunday games, plus watch up to 4 games at once with Multiview. Don't miss the race to the playoffs. NFL Sunday Ticket is now just $39 when bundled with YouTube TV, where you get even more football. Visit youtube.com/Spotify offer to sign up now. Lowest price on YouTube TV with base plan. Rest of 2023 season. Terms and embargoes apply. No cancellations.
Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. You can turn $10 into $250. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/fan and use code FAN. That's code FAN at prizepicks.com/fan.
Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
Go wild with generative AI in Adobe Photoshop. Create anything you can imagine just by typing a text prompt, like a jaguar. No, a jaguar on a spaceship. Yes, this changes everything. Try it now at Photoshop.com.
Hello and welcome to the Paddock and The Pavilion with Stephen Wallace. In each show, Stephen will interview someone connected to the world of horse racing or cricket.
Hello everyone, it's time to welcome back former England Test player Roland Butcher to discuss England's recent Test series win against South Africa and also to look ahead to their trip to Pakistan. Hello Roland.
Yes, Stephen, hey.
Well, what a summer. England's best Test match summer since 2004, 6 wins out of 7. We're going to review the series in more detail, but firstly, we mentioned this at the end of the last podcast. Is Baz Ball still alive?
Well, again, for me, the jury's always going to be out. Baz Ball suggests that you just bash it from ball one, but I don't think that's going to be the case going forward. As I said, you've got to use it against your opponents and in certain circumstances. But as the only way of playing, I don't subscribe that will be the only way that England will play. This winter certainly will tell you whether they're going to play in that fashion or not.
And do you think that in some instances England have been too attacking?
Well, if you look at the series, this last series in particular, which we're looking at, you cannot say they haven't been over-attacking because both teams have scored very low. They've been very low scores. So it is difficult to say whether that strategy is one well used in the South African series because, both teams, batting was quite poor. And the bowlers dominated really from the very first game right through to the last.
Well, let's talk about that first game, which began at Lord's on the 17th of August. And South Africa, they won the game by an innings and 12 runs. Was it a good toss for South Africa to win?
Well, most definitely. I think I was there the first day, so I saw exactly how things were panning out. And South Africa bowled really well. There's no question about it. They used the conditions well. The 4 fast bowlers were all excellent, put England under a lot of pressure and bowled them out cheaply. So, that first morning and winning that toss, I think was vital because let's remember South Africa came into that Test series with, very little cricket under their belt. I think they just played the one game in England before the Test match. So, had they batted first, it could probably be in a 3-0 situation. But having fielded that first Test match and bowled England out relatively cheaply, it put themselves in pole position and they played a very good game. No question about that.
As someone who's obviously played a lot at Lord's, is the ground particularly difficult on the first morning when the overhead conditions are in favour of the bowlers?
I mean, not particularly. I mean, Lord's, you can score runs at Lord's. I just felt, South Africa bowled well. There's no question. I mean, Rabada was on top of his game. Jansen bowled really well. Nofke and Ngidi. So those 4 fast bowlers just got everything right on that first day and put the England batters under pressure. I'm not sure whether England could have done any different, really, because conditions were very much in the bowler's favour.
Yeah, you're talking about the South African pace attack. The lowest speed, average speed of all four bowlers was Jansen at 83 miles an hour. It was like being back watching the West Indies of old.
Yes, except not quite as fearsome. The pace, they definitely have the pace, and obviously they look to bowl good lines and length. But I think in helpful conditions, there will be a handful for sure.
Well, England were bowled out for 165 and 149 in, I think, just over 82 overs. And you were looking, the game was over mid-afternoon on Friday, and you talked about going to the game on the first day, which was the Wednesday. But yours truly was due to go on Saturday, so I didn't see any cricket at all for a test match at Lord's on Saturday. But Ben Stokes was adamant after the game that that was the way he wanted to play.
Well, he would say that because after one game, you can't say, well, let's change course. I mean, if you decide that's the course you're going to go down, you've got to try and back yourself. So I didn't really expect that Ben Stokes would be able to say, anything different. But I don't think it was their positive baseball approach in that test. I just thought South Africa bowled well and pinned them back in both innings. And really, that was not really deficiency by England. I thought it was very efficient by South Africa. South Africa were very much on the front foot the whole game and thoroughly deserved to win the first test.
What a change around, though, after Lord's. England won at Old Trafford by an innings and 85 runs and at the Oval by 9 wickets. And I'd just like to explore some of the reasons, you might have more, why England won the series 2-1. And they're things like the toss, Ollie Robinson, Ben Stokes, and the weak South African batting. And I wanted to return first to the toss in both the last two tests. Do you think they were very significant matters that affected the results?
The toss was. And but even before the toss, I think South Africa handed England a lifeline. Really, you just crushed England in the first test at Lord's. You were not sure what your attack was going to be, but your attack produced an excellent performance. Put England on the back foot. Then you go into the next test match and made one of the weirdest decisions that I've seen South Africa or any team make for a long, long time. You leave out Jansen, who was a thorn in England's side right throughout the test match, to play another spinner. I mean, that made no sense whatsoever at all. And then on top of that, you decide to bat, which was absolute lunacy. England got theirs right. They're stuck with just the one spinner. And South Africa really just, for me, gave up that test match even before ball was ball.
Well, their top scorer in their first innings was Rabada with 36, which says a lot about the decision to bat first.
Well, crazy. Had they played Jansen, I'm certain if they played Jansen, they would have bowled first. But trying to justify playing a spinner and wanted him to bowl late in the game, I think it cost them the game. And as it turned out, it cost them the series.
And then just moving forward to the third test, talking about the toss. This time England won the toss and South Africa are bowled out for 118, having at one point being 36 for 6.
Yeah, again, the toss played a huge part. England got the luck of the green and they did what South Africa should have been doing, I think, right throughout the series. I think you're playing so late in the year. Conditions are going to be reasonable for bowling in the morning, unless the pitch looks so flat. Why go and bat? Take the chance. If you've got a good fast bowling lineup, utilize those conditions. England did just that, and South Africa just could not recover from that first innings.
Of course, the match became a 3-day test following the death of Her Majesty the Queen on Thursday, the 8th of September. Did you think it was a right decision to play the Test match starting on the Saturday?
I think so, yes. I mean, I would fully agree with the Test match continuing. I mean, Her Majesty the Queen, that's what she would have wanted, the game to continue. The country was in mourning for the loss of the monarch. But at the same time, I don't think she would have wanted you to cancel the Test match because she had passed away. I think it was absolutely right and correct to continue. During the Test match, the right things were done by the teams to recognise the passing of the Queen, and obviously that was significant. But I think it was an absolutely right decision to continue.
It was certainly a very emotional start to the match with Laura Wright singing the new national anthem for the first time.
Yes, I mean, obviously, as I said, that time of, it's a very difficult time for the country. And let's remember, England cricketers are no different to the rest of the country. So, they would be feeling it the same way. And I think even South Africa, who were the visitors, to some degree, would also be feeling the pain of the British people. So I think all in all, I think it was quite fitting and proper to continue with that Test match.
My next sort of key reason why England won the series was Ben Stokes, who got 149 runs, averaging 37, 10 wickets at 15, and including that century he made at Old Trafford. How important was he to the overall success for England in the series?
Well, obviously, the last couple of games, he had an impact. I think the most impact really was, when he was able to come and pick up the wickets that he did, 3 at a time. Certainly took a lot of pressure off the other bowlers. Obviously, Anderson, Broad, Robinson were going to bowl a lot, but I think having Ben Stokes as the fourth bowler really helped the team because he did exactly what Jansen did in the first Test match. But as I said, all credit to England. They grasped the opportunities given to them by South Africa, and South Africa did give them opportunities, but at the same time, you've got to take advantage of those. And Ben Stokes and his men did just that. And I think justifiably ended up winning the series and thoroughly deserved it.
And how did you think Ben led the side in this series?
I thought he led the side well. I mean, listen, Ben Stokes, not just this summer, in previous games that he had led the side even on a short-term basis. He's always done a good job. The question always going to be with Ben Stokes is the workload. That's all that's going to be the problem. He has a knowledge of the game. He's been around the game a long time. He's been a match-winning batsman and bowler. He has a great influence on the team. He has a great influence on the outcome of games. So it's just going to be really managing his workload to ensure that, he's not overloaded. So, I never had any problems in believing that Ben Stokes would struggle as a captain.
He clearly works well with the new coach, Brendan McCullum.
Well, at the moment, yes. I mean, everything's rosy. You've got to see when you hit rock bottom, instead of winning 6 out of 7, when you lose 6 out of 7, you will see what the relationship is like then. That's the acid test. As it is right now, everything is fine and dandy, so everybody's happy. Let's wait and see.
The next topic I wanted to discuss is the South African batting. Their sort of Test side only had 2 players who scored 1,000 Test runs. They only made 150 in the whole series. Was it our bowling, the conditions, their inexperience, the reason for the failures?
A bit of both. Obviously, a relatively young, inexperienced side coming to England late in the summer, haven't had much cricket, not much chance to acclimatise against guys in English conditions. Broad and Anderson are 2 of the best in English conditions. Coming up against them, and then you got Stokes, Robinson, and others. Really, with that limited batting lineup, it needed to be pretty flat wickets for them to have a chance realistically. I always felt the bowler had an opportunity, but the question was going to be whether their batsmen could get enough runs. And as the series panned out, it just showed that batting, and from a batting perspective, they just were not good enough. And, they lost a couple of players that perhaps would have helped them. People like Bavuma and Van der Dussen. But even with those two, I think they still would have struggled because, there's no De Villiers, there's no Callis, there's no players of that caliber in the South African team to really hold them together when things are not going well.
And a recalled, fitter, faster Ollie Robinson, who's now got 51 wickets in 11 Test matches. He had a very good series with 12 wickets.
Yeah, Robinson's timing coming back was perfect. Obviously, he came back with the series very much in the balance, good conditions to bowl in, obviously keen to impress and get back into the team and stay in the team. So everything was working perfectly for him. And he got the results and, he bowled very well. He certainly deserved the results that he got and helped England clinch the series.
How high do you rate him as a Test bowler?
Well, someone who's got 50-odd wickets in the 11 matches, you've got to rate quite highly. The acid test is going to be, what's he like after 50, 60 tests? Is he still going to maintain that ratio of wickets, or is he going to fall away? There have been a lot of people who've started off similarly to themselves and fallen away as times have got harder. But, right now, things are going well. The test for him now is going to be when he goes to Pakistan, on those wickets in Pakistan, against better batsmen who are very familiar with their own conditions. We'll see how he progresses in Pakistan.
And have you got yourself other significant reasons why England won the series?
Why England actually won?
Yeah.
I think there were a number of things. As I said, England's bowling in English conditions never has been a problem. They always back themselves in English conditions. The weakness of South Africa's batting, fundamental mistakes made by South Africa, which reinforce England's authority on the games. And when it mattered, England did the things correctly. So all in all, for me, it was a series of England doing some good things and doing them well. South Africa really making some big mistakes with an inexperienced team that they could ill afford. With the team that they had, they could not afford to make many mistakes. If you've got a fantastic team, batting and bowling, you can make mistakes and catch up in the game. The strength of South Africa's team, particularly with their batting right now, they can't make mistakes. If they make mistakes, they're going to get beaten. And we saw that. And I thought from that second test, with that decision to play a spinner, the writing was on the wall.
Well, looking ahead to England's Pakistan Test tour, which begins in December, just reiterating what you've said in your summary, it's now 10 years since we've lost a home series of more than 2 Test matches. And in our last 11 tests away from home, we've lost 8 and drawn 3. So what do you think our prospects are in Pakistan?
Well, I think, first of all, that's a record that they've got to try to put right, because it is not a flattering away record. And as we all know, playing cricket away from home is always the toughest thing for any team. England are going to find Pakistan extremely difficult. Perhaps it's going to be one of their most difficult tours for a long, long time. The reasons for that being, Pakistan have been starved, obviously, of playing a lot of international cricket in Pakistan. So they'd be keen for that to happen. They've got some terrific batsmen in their side. They've got some very good bowlers, both pace and spin. So I expect that England were really going to get a serious examination as to how far they have come as a Test side when they play in Pakistan.
And do you expect England to make changes for the tour and to the team?
I would suspect that, they will have to make changes. What will happen with Anderson and Broad? There's talk of them you want them next year for the Ashes, but Anderson and Broads, particularly at this late stage of their career, overseas records are not very flattering. So that's the first decision they'll have to make as to whether they take one or both of them on this tour. And if they do, who do they leave behind? So it's going to be, and then obviously the spin department, I think they're going to need certainly more than just Jack Leach on the tour. They're going to need to take another spinner with them. So those are decisions that England will have to make. Obviously, they'll have an eye on the Ashes next year. But it's okay having an eye on the Ashes next year, but you don't want to get beaten in Pakistan. So they've got to make this the first priority.
Yeah, talking about the spinners, I think we've heard that Moeen Ali and Adil Rashid have said they don't want to go. So you've watched a bit of county cricket. Who are the other spinning options alongside Jack Leach?
Well, I'll be very honest with you. The games that I've seen, there isn't a lot of spinners of the quality that is required. I think the cupboard is pretty bare right now, and it has been for a long, long time. They've been trying with Leach for a long time. It's only really in this last year or so that you're seeing signs that he's perhaps coming to grips with international cricket. So, whoever they take, really, it's a great opportunity for them. But I think the cupboard is quite bare. I cannot put my hand up and say there's a particular person right now that I believe should get that place, because I haven't seen enough. But what I have seen, I have not seen somebody who has jumped out at me as a real spinner that should take that position in the team.
Well, that will make it very hard winning games in Pakistan without if you've just got Jack Leach and Joe Root to bowl.
Of course, it'll make it extremely difficult because if in Pakistan, you're going to need a penetrative spinner. Jack Leach by no means you would say is a penetrative spinner. He bowls a lot of overs, but he's got to learn to bowl in Pakistan. People believe that it's easy for a spinner to go to Pakistan and do well. The reality is it's not. It's not easy. You've got to do really well as a spinner in Pakistan also to get wickets. And, the quality of their batsmen in their own conditions. And they're brought up on playing spin as well. So whichever spinner goes, it's going to be a real learning curve for him.
Well, hopefully we will have Mark Wood back to add some pace and fire to the attack.
Well, he would be, he would be someone that you need, because you do need that pace. But, the situation with Mark Wood is one that you don't know. In terms of he hasn't been playing, is he going to break down? Is he going to feel his way back? Is he going to be still at 100 miles an hour? He's still an unknown quantity. So you're taking a chance with him and hoping that everything will go right. So, and you've got to go slowly with him. I can't believe for any minute that with him, they're going to rush him into playing too soon and bowling too much. He's going to be someone that they'll have to nurture very carefully on the tour, particularly with, next summer in mind. As I said, you can't think too far ahead. But at the same time, you've got to ensure that when that tour is finished, Mark Wood is still standing and he's still fit.
And batting-wise, do you think they'll persevere with the two openers, Crawley and Lees?
I think they will go on the tour. I would imagine someone like, I guess, based on runs this year, Keaton Jennings would get an opportunity. I think he's got some runs in the subcontinent before, so that will probably help his selection. But you're going to need certainly more than the two openers. So I think Jennings has got a very good chance. Whether he will go and start instead of one of those two, I really don't know. But I would expect that they will take another opener for sure.
But Ollie Pope has certainly impressed during the summer. He topped the averages against South Africa, and hopefully Joe Root will get back in the runs against Pakistan. He's always a very good player of spin bowling.
Yeah, well, Pope's batting at 3, and he's had a good summer. But again, Pakistan is going to be a new challenge for him. He's going to have to go there and show the same sort of qualities that you've seen glimpses of in the past. It's not going to be easy by any means, him batting at number 3. I'm glad to see that Joe Root is back in his favoured position at number 4. I never really felt that he should be elevated to 3. I know why he did it, because there was a shortage of quality in the team and he felt that he had to move up. But his results, and if you check his stats over the years, you'll see that his best results have always come at number 4. So to have him bat at 4 is key. And what they need to really hope is that Pope succeeds at 3, so that there's no need to tinker around with the batting order. And then obviously after that, Bairstow and others and the captain himself and others down the line. So yeah, Pope's a big tour for Pope as well, and for Zach Crawley.
And how impressed were you with England's wicketkeeper Ben Foakes, who scored a century in that big partnership with Ben Stokes at Old Trafford?
I thought Foakes did a good job for the time he was in the Caribbean at the early part of the year. I mentioned that in dispatches. I thought he kept well. At times, his batting certainly looked very capable. One thing that he did for me well in the Caribbean was that, to a lot of the bowlers, Wokes and others, he stood up to the stumps. And that was something you don't see on a regular basis. So, he's obviously going to grow in confidence. The fact that he's had a good summer. He's also got 100 as well. So, that should help him also when he goes to Pakistan. And he was going to be, I think, a very important member of the team.
How's your money feeling? It's about to feel happier with a certificate from Happy Money's partner, Michigan State University Federal Credit Union. Elevate and increase your savings with 18-month terms and only a $500 minimum. And the happiest part? MSU FCU certificates yield 4.5% APY annual percentage yield. Now that's a happier side of money. Elevate your savings. Go to happymoney.com/MSUFCU. That's MSUFCU. Funds insured up to $250,000 by NCUA. The APY is accurate as of the 12/1/2023 dividend declaration date. Early withdrawal penalties do apply. Fees may reduce earnings on the account. Any monthly withdrawals or transfers reduce earnings.
And personally, you've been over in the UK for the summer. And in a follow-up to episode 137, how did your bat launch go at Lord's? It was on one of those really hot days, wasn't it?
Well, it was on the hot day. It was that Monday when it was 41 or 42 degrees. And yes, it was an excellent day. We had some very good support. We had the president of the West Indies Cricket Board, Ricky Skerritt, came to the opening. We had Jamie Cox, who was Assistant Secretary of the MCC. Mark Rampakash came. Also John Simpson. You had Angus Fraser, Ricky Elcott. So a lot of players came and supported, along with many other persons involved. And it was a really good event. Got some very good message sent to us by Sir Garfield Sobers in relation to that, and also Clive Lloyd. So, I thought it went well and was very well received.
And you're keeping busy with your equity, diversity and inclusivity tour as well. Yeah,
on top of commentating, I'm still doing the talks, etc. This last week, I was in Hill House School in Doncaster on Monday. A few days before that, I was in the city with the Diversity Housing Association. And a few more things coming up. Yeah, so we've been pretty busy on that front as well.
Yeah, I was going to shout out for the Neil Wade Academy in March in Cambridgeshire, where I come from, and you're coming along there on October the 5th.
That's correct, yes, yeah. And I was discussing it today with Shawn again, so looking forward to that.
Well, I was going to ask you at the end, we'd mentioned it during the podcast, about the Ashes 2023. Is it going to be Anderson and Broad's swan song?
Well, that's what I'm hearing. Whether it's a swan song, there's certainly the reports that I have read whether they're correct or not, says, the coach says, he would like Anderson and Broad to be available next summer. But between now and next summer, a lot could happen. I expect that, certainly playing at home, that they will have a part to play. Because at home, they are two masters of the conditions. So, England might want to try and keep them in cotton wool to play a part next year, because they'll need to, because the Aussies are coming, and they're coming for those Ashes. They're not coming just to participate in a party. They're coming for the Ashes. And at this moment in time, I would feel that the Australians are favourites to actually do that, because, they have got a very good unit right now, both batting and bowling. And as long as their bowlers stay fit, Hazelwood, Stark, etc., I think they will be a formidable team next year when they come here.
Well, they haven't won here since 2001, but they do, of course, hold the Ashes. Any news at all on Jofra Archer? Could he be back for next summer?
Well, I haven't heard anything, but again, that's another question. How near is he to fitness? I have heard no reports. I don't know whether he's back bowling or what. So again, that's something that, I guess we'll have to watch this space and see how it develops. I think England could certainly do with him. There's no question about it, to have, that bit of extra pace and quality in your squad would certainly would make it much more comfortable. I think against the Australians, if they can get him back against the Australians, to go with Mark Wood, you've got Anderson, Broad, and then you add Robinson in there as well. You've got a group of players that, even if there's loss of form or injuries, that can still be very competitive with the ball. But against Australia, the key thing's really going to be is what runs can England put on the board. That's going to be the issue.
And just going back, we didn't get a prediction from you for the Pakistan-England series starting in December.
I'm tipping Pakistan to win.
1-0, 2-0, 3-0.
Well, if it's three test match, I'm looking at a 2-1 win to Pakistan.
Right. Well, we'll look back on that in our next review of the Test series. That could be in the new year, because I think the Test match finishes just before Christmas. Thank you again for being on the Paddock and the Pavilion.
It's a great pleasure. And even before that, we got the World Cup to look forward to. So that's some excitement coming up in the not too distant future.
Yes, we have. Thank you. Since recording the podcast on the 16th of September, Roland has confirmed he will be back to review the ICC T20 World Cup in November. If you do have a question about the competition, I would love to hear from listeners. Either email the Paddock and the Pavilion at gmail.com or direct message the Paddock and the Pavilion on Twitter, Facebook or Instagram at the Pad and Pav. I will then pose the questions to Roland when he reviews the competition in November.
Thank you for listening to the Paddock and the Pavilion. You can download the show on Apple Podcasts,
Amazon Music,
SoundCloud, Stitcher and Spotify.
Follow us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram at the Pad and Pav. Don't forget, if you like the show, please do leave us a rating and review.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Looking for a fun way to win 25 times your money this football and basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projection for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, PrizePicks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/play100 and use code PLAY100. That's code PLAY100 at prizepicks.com/play100 for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy.